There's something wrong with this town. I know that's probably a dumb way to start off, but screw it. Not like any of you know me, right? Anyways, I'll cut right to the chase. This place is weird. Not even something you'd find on a conspiracy blog weird. I'm talking things the government tries to cover up weird. But before I delve into just how bad things have been around here, I should probably explain how I got here first. If you want to skip the exposition, just scroll down towards the end. It's nothing important anyways. My name is John and I'm a high school student. Or at least I was before the accident. It probably sounds really ominous, but it's pretty much the only thing that's ever happened since I left the house. I used to live pretty unassumingly. I attended a local high school. I got average grades and I made some acquaintances. And I played around with computer parts in my spare time. If you were one of the students there, you'd assume there was nothing extraordinary about me. You might not even notice I was there. The only thing out of place was my family. My house too, now that I really think about it. I didn't grow up in a small town. I rarely bothered to venture into the city, and I've spent my entire life up to this point in a decently sized nook of suburbia. Our house was a typical 2-story red brick house sandwiched between 2 other houses, which was, again, completely average. Maybe that's why he chose it. Maybe we were hiding in plain sight. My dad was the one who raised me, but even that's a stretch. He would disappear for weeks on end and then come back disheveled and then pass out in the room. I didn't know where he went or what his job was, even what his real first name was. But there was always money deposited in our bank account and we were able to cover the bills with cash to spare. And I never cared to question him when he hadn't even bothered to talk to me for half the time. As far as I know, I don't have any family members. I've never been to a family reunion and whoever else is in the bloodline doesn't call. I can't even remember the last time we all sat at the same table. And as far as I can tell, he's an enigmatic, antisocial guy who I'm 90% sure is wanted by the government. But then again, I'm not much different right now, am I? He didn't even bother to tell me about my mom. I've never met her. He dodged any questions about her faster than a teenager dodges Planned Parenthood, or he just didn't answer. There aren't any pictures of her in the old house, and no clothes or possessions either. Actually, now that I remember, there wasn't anything from my childhood either, but I have no memory of him pawning off my old toys. Without her name, I couldn't trace her online, and I didn't even have the hint of what she looked like. I was all him, the same skin tone, the same scruffy black hair. I was basically a miniature clone. But if there is something I knew about him, it's that unnerving him was hard. He wasn't just stoic. His face was completely frozen. Fluffy puppies? No emotion. Car accident? Completely unfazed. The Notebook? Nothing. He never once yelled at me, cried over my assumed dead mother, showed any signs that he felt anything. And sometimes I even wondered if he was human. But that night, something did. He woke me up in a frenzy at 2 a.m, yelling about how we had to get out of there as fast as possible. How they were coming for us. I was in a temporary shock. Was he sleepwalking? A long-lost twin showed up at our doorstep. I didn't have much time to ponder whatever set him off so badly. He gave me 30 seconds to pack up as he shoved makeshift supplies into a sack. I'm not even exaggerating, he started counting and everything. I raced down the stairs, shrugging a jacket over my nightclothes. Wait, what? Where are we going? My question was left unanswered. I guess a state of panic wasn't enough to slip, and before I even had time to process it, I was in the back of a white Impala with nothing but a laptop, a phone, and their respective chargers. His hands were shaking as he operated the steering wheel, nervously looking around. When we left the house, he seemed to gradually calm down, and the further out we got, the more tension seemed to dissipate. We must have been driving for hours, and at this point, we were way out of the city. We passed by the occasional cow field until we were past even there, surrounded by flat, empty land. You know how there are some roads in Australia that stretch so far into the desert that they pull up trivia signs to keep drivers awake? Picture that, but without signs and even more grass. At some point, my eyelids started drooping and I thought I could sleep some more. And apparently, my dad thought the same thing, because the next thing sensation I was aware of was similar to the drop of a roller coaster as the car flipped over into a ditch. I must have caught on fire or something because I woke up with burns in a hospital ward. I asked the first nurse that checked in what had happened. She gave me a glass of water, all cheer and smiles. I appreciated the gesture before chugging the entire thing. What happened? My voice was still raspy. You were in a car accident and someone found you near the highway. Thank goodness he was making deliveries or you could have died. It was real bad too. The whole thing was shattered near the roof and no one could have known it was a white car without the roof keeping its color. I was right on the mark that time. You should be glad you're alive. Still thirsty? I nodded and she refilled the glass with a jug in front of the room that I hadn't previously noticed. Where am I? And where's my dad? She looked quizzically at me, bottle green eyes scrunching up in confusion. Well, you're in a clinic. You were the only one the trucker brought back though. My heart sunk. About an hour later, a few officers showed up to question me, and I wasn't much help. They asked me some routine questions. What's your address? Who should I contact? But then it shifted to, where's your father? Do you have a basement? Something told me they were dangerous. I couldn't tell if it was because of how they looked, or the creepy wasp tattoos on their hands. It started to feel more like an interrogation over a police report. Something else told me that I shouldn't fork over any information to them. Luckily, before they could inch any closer, the same nurses before shooed them out, apologizing for how pushy they were being. That was the first clue that there was something off around here. A few weeks later, I was discharged. The burns, for the most part, were healed, and another officer put me in a dilapidated apartment until they figured out what to do with me. In the meantime, I was recommended that I enroll in the local high school, and as much as I disliked it, I still had plans to graduate. Thank God we have healthcare, and I'd be completely screwed over by now. So that's what I did. And here we are. I've technically been here for about 2 months. They couldn't track down any of my other family. The sheriff had been checking in on me every week or so, and my dad has still been filled as a missing person. And since there's no foster program here, because of the town's size, they're pretty much just letting me stay here as long as I can keep quiet and pay rent. While they looked through my files, I took the opportunity to ask them something I never got the answer to. What happened to my mother? What's interesting was, they couldn't find anything about her. Actually, they hadn't found anything. No birth certificates, doctor's visits. The only thing they managed to find was school conduct. After trying to figure out what had happened, I had given up trying to process it, and now I'm resorting to suppressing everything. I have about $2,000 in my bank account, and miraculously, my phone managed to survive the crash. I'm lynching internet from the McDonald's next to my apartment. I guess I'll have to get a job soon. Now that you're up to speed, I guess I have to explain what's so strange about this place. First of all, it's not on any official maps. Of course, there are maps of the town, but its location relative to everything around it was impossible to find. It's not even on Google Maps. When I tried using the GPS function, it went haywire and it couldn't pin down my location. I couldn't find any information about it online either, but it clearly had access to the internet. Second, my apartment is haunted, I think. One of the nursing home residents is either coming back to her old house by mistake or insanely good at picking locks. I keep seeing an elderly Italian woman around the apartment. Occasionally, she'll pop out from around the corner, or I'll see her in her room, but she's always gone after about an hour or so. She shows up at different times of the day, and almost every morning I've woken up to her reading at the plastic table or making cookies with ingredients I have no idea where she got. I don't know how she keeps getting in, but she keeps saying that she's my grandmother. I'm not Italian. The first time I filed a police report about 2 weeks ago, someone came by to check it out, but as soon as he walked in, she was gone. like she vanished into thin air. The same thing happened the next time, and at this point, I've just resigned myself to having a roommate. Besides, she makes some good cookies. But by far, the most threatening is the men in the trench coats. They're everywhere. I didn't notice them at first, but if you stop whatever you're doing and you look around, you'll see them. Men dressed in black jackets and wide-brim hats, hidden in alleys, perched in trees, just watching. No idea what they're looking for, but it's unsettling, to say the least. And here we are. Currently, I'm sitting on the floor of my apartment trying to get a stronger signal. I guess I'll be keeping a journal of whatever happens. Maybe I'll come back. Maybe not. If anything happens, I'll make sure to post again. Right now, though, I have a question to ask you all. How do you get rid of a haunting?